I hope you're ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the best sound in the world. Oh, yes. Hello, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome one and all back to my latest and greatest creation for Season 5 for us correct choosers of the best class. Literally the best class, but hey, if you're like me, you've known all along and have been playing Sorceress since goddamn Season 0. In any case, charged bolts. This is a skill I've always really enjoyed, and I've always tried to make it work. Hell, I even got a sort of teleport bomb version of it way back off the ground, but it's always struggled a little bit because admittedly it used to be garbage. Though, that said, a while back now, one thing I did notice about charge bolts is obviously it hits a lot. Now, this might be like, yeah, obviously it does. I know, but like literally a lot, right? Like every time you fire it, you fire out 3 charge bolts that all 3 go through, then there's a Nova, they pierce, they come back, there's another Nova, you're casting it twice with the staff, so every time you cast charge bolts, you're getting a lot of individual hits. What I tried in the past was combining it with the Firebolt enchant as usual, because every individual charge bolt is its own hit and therefore stack of Firebolt, and then using X-Files to proc as many explosions as possible for a fiery lightning Nova, and it worked quite well. It was fun. But now andariels is so much better than it used to be. Well, we can take that up a notch because with so many individual hits, this is a lucky hit machine, as we'll talk about, which means you can get some ridiculous stackage going. So yeah, it might have been garbage, but now it's not. And in large part, thanks to the ridiculous buff that the staff of Lamb Esen got, coupled with a few other new Season 5 things, you can cook up one hell of a lightning Nova spam explosion that just looks wonderful and plays wonderful too. Seeing this swarming tidal wave of crackling energy just flow from you and chase down and disintegrate every enemy in an instant is so satisfying, and it is so powerful. I mean, look at this damage to Uber Lilith. It's hilarious. And because charged bolts is a lucky hit machine, especially with the unique staff effect coupled with it piercing and returning and piercing and returning, you can do some really fun things. I've got poison ticking for over 30 million a go. I have 100% capped attack speed. Technically, Unstable Currents takes it to 125, because that's a different bucket, on a staff. You are throwing out 2.25 charge bolts a second, and since you're casting it twice every time, that is 4.5 charged bolts every second, alongside, you know, 100% crit chance in combat. And this is far from the peak of this build if I had a little bit better gear and a little bit more lucky hit. The holy grail of a greater Affix Fist of Fate on the lucky hit roll is forever out my grasp. But make no mistake, you do not need to play this with andariels. Raw charged bolts is just super good now, and it's incredibly satisfying. It's also amazing for literally infernal hordes, and the fact that it can comfortably clear a T8, which is pretty much reserved for just the most premium of premium builds, says all it needs to. Because the council fight is 3 bosses, and all the charge bolts pierce and explode through all of them repeatedly, as soon as they stack on top of each other, it is melt time. Especially if you get Cruel, so he follows you around and easily stacks up with his friends. In any case, you will rip through the tier 101 test in just a couple minutes. Again, really can't stress how good the raw single target damage is on this thing, and more than anything, it just gets the job done in a spectacular, immortal, and automatic fashion that just sees your sea of lightning just coat the infernal hordes and automatically destroy everything that spawns instantly. It's really got a lot going for it, and is comfortably one of Sorcerer's top 5 builds this season, with the potential to push even further. So with that all said then, if you are interested in charging your bolts, this is how we do it. And before we get into the skill tree then, I just want to stress, so it's at all not ambiguous, at no point am I saying that this is of course better than Chain Lightning or Lightning Spear. Of course not, they are the two best Sorcerer builds on balance at the moment, though potentially Blizzard might creep in once they fix Blue Rose, which is something I'm ready to immediately test as soon as they do, so I can show you guys the results. In any case, this is simply the best charged bolts build, as it says in the title, and it's pure charged bolts. You could add in splintering energy as an aspect, but then you've just kind of got a worse splintering energy build, so sort of what's the point? The goal is to make pure charged bolts as good as it can be, as I think that's really fun, because it's a really fun skill. The swarm of lightning is great, and the explosion sounds are just incredible, and this is where I've ended up to with non-maxed tempered gear, and I'm really happy with it. Because a small minority of people seem to get really offended at the idea of playing anything other than the best build, whereas I and many of you guys, based on your lovely comments, being really appreciative of me trying other things and coming up with different ways to play, enjoy having different ways to play in a given season. It would be kind of dull to just make Lightning Spear and then that's it. Do nothing else, because it's the best. The joy is in the crafting of different builds, pushing different skills, different synergies, as far as you can go each season, and seeing how everything stacks up. And that's what I will always try to do for you guys. We are, at the end of the day, playing a game for fun, and variety is, as they say, the spice of life. So without further ado, let's get into this. Now that I've charged up the skill tree, let me just bolt to the top, because I'm so sorry. 2 points in to Firebolt, to both move on to Core, and for that sweet, lovely, yet ever-present, maybe in Vessel, we won't need it, because we'll have something better. Enchantment Burning Synergy. Then we go to your course. I just love seeing with 24 ranks in a skill. In any case, 1 into Devastation, 3 into Full Dominance, and then you want to fill up Charge Bolts, take it to Enhanced, and then if you are doing easy content, you want Greater, as you might as well. Enemies will always be stunned, and when a boss is staggered, this is a huge increase and really helps there. But if you are feeling a little bit squishy, then feel free to do Destructive. Over to our defensives, where we get the usual teleport into Enhanced and Shimmering for the DR and all of the other goodness being able to zip gives. 3 out of 3 into Glass Cannon, as it's just free damage more than ever this season with how tanky we are as Sorcerer, especially in this build. Then your Ice Armor into your Enhanced, and then for the Mystical, for the lovely ramping damage it gives in a staggered boss situation. Over to Elemental Attunement for just the 1 point to reset these two, and finally to your Conjurations. We want as much lucky hit as we can get in this build, so Precision Magic is taken, the double defensives of I don't want to die more, and then 3 out of 3 in Conjuration Mastery, a honestly passive that I feel like we're going to be stuck with, just pushing as much as possible for all of our best builds for maybe longer than we might like, but for now it is wonderful, so we always want to take it and produce them sweet Conjurations, starting with Lightning Spear to Enhanced and then Invoked, and then Ice Blades to Enhanced and then Summoned for that lovely cooldown reduction. And this build certainly does need the little bit of extra help from Summoned Ice Blades on everything but Unstable Currents, which has 100% uptime, which is hilarious. And I guess in my little intro there, it's actually a lot more than 4.5 charge bolts a second, because Unstable Currents is also firing them out randomly, so it really is just ridiculous. Do your Mastery then, where all we care about is Inner Flames for then Devouring Blaze for that burning critliness, then just a single point in Static Discharge, so we technically summon Crackling Energy just to power the Charged Glyph once we get to the Paragon. Over to here then, where we put 1 in Permafrost, 3 out of 3 into Hoarfrost for that 18% multiplicative, mainly against staggered bosses. Then we want 1 into Coursing, 3 out of 3 Electrocution for more damage reduction, get your Unstable Currents, and then the attack speed amp, which is always lovely to have. And then finally our key passive is the buffed and potent Via's Mastery. So that is that Done. Let's talk gear then. For your gems, you want critical strike damage in your weapon, you want armor in your jewelry, and you do actually need it in this, and then finally in your armor, either health rubies or intelligence topazes. You're going to have to play it and decide how squishy or not you feel. In anything under a tier 8 hordes, you're completely fine to just whack topazes in, but I felt I needed a little bit of extra health just to smooth things out, so I put rubies in. But one or the other, and you can get a feel for it. On to your legendaries then. We want ourselves Storm Swell on specifically your necklace to get that 1.5 times. This is bugged and double dipping for us, so it's giving us way more damage than it should, so let's take righteous advantage of that. It makes a big difference. Then on our ring, we want piercing static. I would really like to have Tal Rashes here, but we just need the aspect space because we need to have piercing static. It makes all the difference because the charge bolts are lasting 300% longer and piercing. They're going through and back through and back through and exploding, and it just makes everything so much better, especially against the council fight, as it's 3 enemies. Then lastly on your legs, which you want to be normal legs, we don't have the space for Tibolts, sadly. We have ourselves Orange Herald, so we have permanent unstable currents uptime, especially as this is a big lucky hit build, so this just happens constantly. We then have our uniques. So the star of the show, Staff of Lamesen. I was very lucky to get a greater Affix Charge Bolts rank 1 and hit it twice while masterworking. Plus 14 ranks is hilarious, but more than anything, you just want to get hold of it and at least above 60% on the Charge Bolts chance to be attracted. Other than that, you will be good. This thing is just really potent. Honestly, I'm a little bit sad that my roll for cast twice is just not high enough to be permanently 100%, but hey, I'll take the skill ranks. Then we want Esu's Heirloom for the critical strike chance and damage, wonderful for the build. We want your Ring of Starless Skies for, well, everything it does. The damage is huge, the attack speed is huge, the critical strike chance is huge, the core skills is obviously huge. It's the mythic unique. I don't know why I'm describing to you that it's a good item. It does mean, however, coupled with the resource reduction on the staff, we have 16 mana cost already, and then once we get to 5 stacks, it's just 8 cost to charge bolts, which is why mana is such a non-issue here. Then we have ourselves Fist of Fate. This is a lucky hit powered build to proc all of the poison on andariels, so getting as much of it as possible is there. I would love a greater Affix lucky hit Fist of Fate, oh my god, but you will have to just get the best roll that you can. You want at least 30% lucky hit with at least 270% on the actual effect, and then you can use them. Then we have the usual Tyrael's Might for that lovely damage reduction more than anything, just the big old keep you alive chest piece that you might as well use, because there's nothing really better. Then the other star of the show, andariel's Visage, for that lucky hit Poison Nova, leading to those ridiculous amounts of poison ticking damage. Also, the attack speed is everything because it's what lets us get to capped attack speed on a freaking staff. I love that so much, and a lucky hit attack speed version of Charge Bolts was the main inspiration once I'd started using andariel's Visage with Chain Lightning too. So, any replacements if you need them, you simply put on Tal Rashes instead of Ring of Starless Skies if you don't have it, and then instead of the chest, any random defensive chest with like Aspect of Concentration or Ever Living Aspect will do you. And then while andariel's Visage is really good here, you can wear, well, the Shaco if you don't have andariel's but do have Shaco, or something normal like Godslayers. Then we move on to your affixes. There's only 3 items here, so very specifically then, you want critical strike chance and critical strike damage. The third one, you either want intelligence or attack speed. You want to look at your actual attack speed bonus. I'm on 94%, so this would be wasted, and if I upgraded this to 12 out of 12, I'd reach the 100 again, so you need to just decide which affixes on the ring are best placed for you. Always crit strike chance and damage, and then either intelligence or attack speed. On your amulet, ideally, you want ranks of Devouring Blaze, ranks of Conjuration Mastery, attack speed, and critical strike chance. 3 out of those 4, and you will be very, very happy alongside the ever-present cooldown reduction too. Then, on your legs, you very specifically need, it's not optional or you won't be armor capped, a greater affix armor roll. Technically, you could use a greater affix armor roll on boots and then put to bolts on, but it is better this way round as we want Esu's heirloom. Other than that, your life and your int is absolutely fine. That then leads to this monster of poison lightning. So, playing this thing is fairly simple. Use your lightning spear and your ice blades on cooldown, teleport to keep up the DR and to get to where you need to be, and then make sure you always press ice armor when the boss is staggered for the huge damage increase. Other than that, use unstable currents on cooldown as it will always be available and you'll have permanent uptime, and then you just spam charge bolts in the direction that you're going. You can just move around the place like this, holding charge bolts down, and you'll just keep throwing them out as you maneuver, and this is kind of it. The charge bolt shimmy step as you thrust the staff back and forth. It's quite the combat style, I suppose, but hey, it's damn effective. However, of course, if you ever can, you do just want to sit there and let it just purely fire out, and you'll do the most damage that way if you're not moving. Tempering wise, on your legs, and indeed anywhere this is applicable, you want ranks of warmth, as you might as well, though it's not a huge deal with andariels life on hit coming in. Mainly, you just want chance to immobilize or freeze. On your ring, you want unstable currents cooldown reduction. It just lets it have that permanent uptime alongside your orange herald, and then critical strike damage. On your amulet, you want, again, unstable currents cooldown reduction, or you could do lightning spear cooldown reduction too, and then critical strike damage. That is then that. Masterworking wise, any particularly important ones to hit is your lucky hit on Fists of Fate, your attack speed on andariels visage, and then your ranks of charge bolt on your staff of lamb esen. To the Paragon board then, where we have another very satisfying 8 active glyphs. Let's do this thing. Up and right through Elementalist to the glyph slot where we have Reinforced. Grab your Erudite, the Willpower, and then up again through Elemental Balance. Into Enchantment Master, arranged in its usual glyph bottom right orientation. We want to go left this time to grab the extra non-physical as we do need it for your Frigid Fate, and then head right down into Elemental Balance, past into the node where Elementalist once again is, and then off into the next board, grabbing Erudite. The next board being your Burning Instinct, heading into it. Initially we want to detour up to the right in order to get Safeguard and the magic nodes around it for the damage reduction from elites, then head down to the glyph, but first via left for Cinders, then round we go to the glyph where Destruction is, get all of the decks in the area to maximum activate it, and then Smoldering Embers and the extra decks too. Head right and down into the next board, which is your Frigid Fate, straight down to this vulnerable node, then we can go left to get and activate Enchanter, which is lovely. We need that non-physical damage for, yes, this Frigid Fate node, and then straight down to Chilling. We want to head right then through Weakness, curve round to grab Frigid Fate, and then keep going to this Willpower, up for Guarded, and then into the next board, which is going to be your Elemental Summoner, arranged like this. Straight across and right in order to pass through Conjurer to the glyph slot where we have Charged, get it activated with Erudite, and then we want to go up past the Intelligence into the next board, which is going to be your Ceaseless Conduit, arranged with the glyph in the bottom right. Head to the glyph slot through the Dexterity, where we get an Activate Tactician, and then straight down to Galvanic Catalyst for the extra lightning damage. Then we follow up through the decks again into this board here, which is going to be your Static Surge, arranged like this, so the glyph is as close to the gate as it can be, going the down path past all the Dexterity, put in the glyph exploit and activate it with all the dexterity, and grabbing Incapacitate too, as we might as well. Then lastly we want to go right from the Erudite on your charge glyph Elemental Summoner board all the way to the gate, and in here we have ourselves Searing Heat with the glyph arranged at the bottom left. This is literally just to activate another glyph, and that glyph in question is going to be your Flame Feeder. Get the dex to make it happen and you are done. That then is your Paragon board, and once again, quite the slick one at that. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, Charged Bolts reborn in glory as a properly solid high A, low S tier build, one of the best Sorcerer has, if we, don't compare it to the best build in the game, but nothing compares to that, because you can't really, make an alternative for having an extra 900% damage from 60 stacks of Conjuration Mastery, which is why I do think it might become a problem in future seasons / the expansion, but hey, it is what it is. For now then, we are very lucky to have so many builds that are powerful enough that they can do everything you need them to do, and anything past that is overkill, so really, it's just what you find fun, and this is goddamn fun. Like if you enjoyed this then, let me know what builds you'd like to see next, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.